Whenever
Hello,
you
everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the info session for the Game Dev Club Game Jam this February, with the theme of misinformation. Now, I'll give Thomas the floor.
Thank you, Joey. Yeah, tonight we have with us a guest who I asked Nicola to tell us more about the topic and to tell us more about the context in which the game jam is taking place. So Nicola, please introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and why we are doing a game jam on this topic, and tell us more about the topic because it will help the participants to design their game.
Sure. Well, it's nice to meet you, everyone. Let me just preface this by saying that I had prepared a PowerPoint deck that I had put a lot of work into, but I forgot it. So I had it on a USB and I left it at the university yesterday. And then I realized a couple hours ago that I didn't have it. And so I've scrambled a bit to put my notes together to render something to say. But what I will do is once I'm back at the university tomorrow, normally, is I'll send it to Thomas so that maybe Thomas, you can also share it on the website for the game jam because it contains stuff like links and to resources and all that sort of stuff. So, like Thomas said, I'm Nico Rutherford, and I'm with the Information Integrity Lab at the University of Ottawa. For those of you who don't know, we are in the Desmarais building on the 12th floor. And if ever you're in the dans les environs, if you're ever around, you shouldn't hesitate to come up to the 12th floor and to come and visit us. We have a lab, an actual physical lab, and we're there every day. And it'd be great to meet you in person and to talk about disinformation further if you're interested in that kind of stuff. So, anyways, just to say a few very quick words with the lab. Um, our work sort of focuses on better understanding and on trying to address the various sort of dynamics and the spread of mis and disinformation, and in particular in areas that have serious societal impacts. Um, so that includes things related to our democratic processes, so elections and the threat of foreign interference, so FEMI. And then it also includes things related to climate change and climate action. And our goal at the lab, really, like the name of the lab implies, is to promote information integrity rather than, fighting disinformation specifically. And so what that means is, ensuring that people have access to accurate and reliable information, especially in an era where, false or misleading narratives can thrive, especially online as they do here. But so I was, as I was saying, we do this through um, so three things that we do at the lab. So we do collaborative research and analysis. We do tool building. And so, for example, we collaborate with the Computer Research Institute of Montreal to develop prototypes on how to detect visual and multimodal disinformation. And then we do a lot of public engagement stuff. So events that bring together experts and stakeholders and policymakers on a variety of topics. So I invite you to check out our website because we have, upcoming events, and again, you're more than welcome to come to those. So, anyways, over the past year and a half, we've focused really on climate disinformation. It's become a major focus of our work, and this is because of its growing influence on public opinion, policy design, and the urgency and the effectiveness of climate action, which is necessary to confront this existential issue that is climate change. So, one of our major upcoming events or initiatives is the Summit on Climate Myths and Disinformation that is happening on June 17th and 18th this year in Ottawa in the Learning Crossroads building on the ground floor in the big amphitheater, and then also in I guess it's called an atrium, I guess, out in front, as well as on the sixth floor in the Innova space, which maybe some of you are familiar with. And so in this project, we're supported by two partners, so the Trottier Family Foundation and also CRIM, who I already mentioned. And this summit is, meant to bring together, lots of experts from climate science, from policy, from technology, media, communications, to do two main things. One, to examine the drivers and the impacts of climate disinformation. And then secondly, and most importantly, to provide a forum for sharing strategies, tools, frameworks, and that sort of thing that can help strengthen public resilience or find ways to foster, more informed climate dialogue and ultimately climate action. So as part of this initiative, the summit, we've partnered with Thomas and his center, the Centre du droit de l'environnement et de la durabilité mondiale at uOttawa, to launch this gamification challenge. And so before we hear all the details from Thomas, I just want to very, very quickly set the stage by looking at sort of 3 points. So one, what do we mean by climate mis and disinformation? And then secondly, why is it an issue? And a complex one at that. And then thirdly, what's being done about climate disinfo, including through a gamification approach. So in terms of what we mean by climate misinformation and disinformation, usually, when we talk about this stuff, what specifically we're talking about is referring to like false, misleading, manipulative information that distorts public understanding of climate change, but also, really of climate science, of various policy responses, and of other kind of, quote unquote, potential solutions. So it's not just about outright falsehoods. It also, and especially, includes things like deceptive framings, selective truths, and all sorts of narratives that are designed to delay or distract or erode trust, whether that's in the consensus on climate change, so the scientific consensus, or also erode sort of trust in the various actors, whether those are scientists themselves or policymakers or other institutional actors or activists and so on, are working to try and sort of bring about and to foster climate action. And so, climate disinfo is especially a problem because, for one, it's been shown to undermine the building of social and political consensus, which by definition is a necessary condition for effective climate action to happen, since it's a global issue that requires coordinated, very large scale efforts. And then it can not only lead to political inertia, it also fuels polarization. And so there's lots of research that's been done that shows that climate disinfo is used as a wedge issue, so reinforcing often identity-based political divisions rather than solutions-oriented discussions, for example. And ultimately, this serves in particular certain actors or interest groups like fossil fuel companies who have as I'm sure you know, a very long and very well documented history of engaging various types of disinfo tactics because they profit from either less or delayed climate action or, in terms of energy transition. And again, there's lots of, well evidenced research that shows this. So, ultimately all this is, quite complex, both in terms of climate disinfo itself and also in terms of climate change, the phenomenon itself. So, while it's rooted in physical phenomena that science and the scientific method and decades of scientific research have helped us to understand, climate change, really, I think the thing to remember is that it exists also as a deeply political, economic, and social cultural issue, and that the way that we frame, construct, and contest climate issues is shaped by many factors like economic interest, things like social inequalities, cultural values as well, and then geopolitical dynamics. So I guess what I want to say is that climate disinfo isn't just about facts that are wrong. Really, it's about shaping how people think, feel, and act on climate change, and to shape those into ways that serve very limited or very short-term interests. So in terms of what's being done to address climate disinfo, there's a wide variety of strategies and tools that exist. I'll list a few. There's stuff like traditional fact checking, so correcting false claims. There's pre-bunking, so teaching people how to spot misinformation before they encounter it in their feeds, for example. there's media literacy, helping to, develop healthier media consumption habits and that sort of stuff. And then there's, policy and regulation responses. So trying to address disinformation through legal frameworks, for example. And, a big example of that right now is the DSA in Europe, the Digital Services Act. Canada, was on its way, is maybe still on its way to following suit on that in some way. The US was more open to that sort of interventionist approach under Biden, not so much today under Trump. But anyway, all these approaches have limitations. For instance, fact checking is quite slow and limited. Pre-bunking is hard to scale also, and then platforms, for instance, are resist efforts at regulation. So there's no one size fits all approach to solutions, which means I think also that there's room for experimentation and innovation. So I think this is where gamification can come in as a like an interactive, engaging approach to tackle disinfo. And it seems to me that at its core, misdisinfo is about things like persuasion and influence and cognitive biases and engagement. You know things that I think are also fundamental to game design. So anyway, there have been several, in fact, many attempts at sort of introducing gamified approaches to dealing with disinformation. Some examples include, and these were in the PowerPoint with links, but off the top of my head, there was a Bad News Game, which is a game where players take on the role of a disinformation spreader, and in doing so, they can better understand how manipulation tactics work. There was stuff like the climate game that was in the Financial Times. That is a policy simulation game where players balance economy concerns and climate action. So, costs and that sort of stuff. And then there was a game called Conspiracy Test that helps users spot logical fallacies in conspiracy theories. There was one called Cranky Uncle, which I showed to Thomas as well. Anyways, these are just a few examples, and I'm sure your ideas will go in many directions. They don't have to be these ones, of course, but I just wanted to say that, again, climate disinfo is a complex and certainly an evolving challenge, and we need new ways to engage people in, step one in critically thinking about it. And I think that games provide a unique opportunity to simulate, to experiment, to interact with these challenges in ways that maybe traditional ways or traditional education and policy discussions can't. So I'll leave it there, and I'm looking forward so much to seeing what you guys come up with. So thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Nicola. Thank you very much. It's very exciting to get more insight about the topic, and I'm just like boiling about ideas of what it could be. When you mentioned that you play someone who is spreading misinformation, was something I was thinking it could be very fun.
Yeah.
Talking about games as well, so it can be educational and fun at the same time. Maybe before getting into the criteria of evaluation for the game jam, I will let people ask you questions. Like if any of the person in the audience has a question for Nicola, feel free to do it. There is no stupid questions. Go like please feel free to ask questions. To raise your hand first and then to ask questions. If something is not clear, if something is not
Now or later, anytime.
yes, true. Okay, bon, I will let you think of questions if you have. Nicola, you will send us a PowerPoint so we can also
Yeah.
link it to the page of the game jam, so it will give more information. Oh, Joey, how do you raise your hand? You have a
Zoom had a new update.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to raise my hand anymore. I know you mentioned a couple of topics and themes surrounding misinformation.
Yeah.
Climate change was a big one. Do you have any specific themes that you would like to see covered that wasn't covered before in a video game?
No, not so much.
Okay, sweet.
No, I think it'd be a mistake to try and confine you guys to
Hmm
any specific theme. There are so many that sort of intersect with disinformation for one, and with climate, for two.
Yep.
For instance, I know that health and climate intersect in really interesting ways. So that could be an angle to come at this issue.
That is true.
So no, I'm
Open to everything.
100%.
Sounds good. And the game's main goal should be to spread awareness of the issue and topic, and hopefully leave the player with another perspective on what could be happening in the background. Do you feel like that's like, too concise, like the whole problem at hand?
Yeah, I think so. I think I
Sweet.
think I think it might be too concise actually. I think the game could do other things. It can, sort of come at it from a different perspective. Maybe it's a game that makes you rethink. Maybe it poses maybe like an anthropological question, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like in the sense that maybe it makes you question your own relationship to nature. And that's one of the issues, for why we're in the situation that we're in is, philosophers or anthropologists like Bruno Latour have written about this, that 21st century, 20th century Homo sapiens has in some ways extracted themselves from their natural environment,
Hmm.
and that doesn't take into account all of the externalities that come with the exploitation of natural resources and so on. And so what's needed is a fundamental reset of how we perceive ourselves in the world and in relation to non-human animals, for instance. And so as an idea, if there was a game that sort of touched on that um, issue and tried to sort of, operate a shifting of perspectives just on that and on who we
Hmm.
are and who we are in relation to other living beings, I think that would be really interesting as well. So I don't know. I think you can be really, really creative and uh yeah, I'd say sort of go with that.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because Joey, I think you could definitely either talk about the concept of misinformation, disinformation itself. You could decide to focus on one type of disinformation, one way to fight it, or several. I mean, it depends on the angle you want to take. So that's why I think we want to let you as free as possible. And the topic, I feel like Nicola, tell me if I'm wrong, but even with different topics, we might see the same techniques. Uh,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you talk about health, climate, environment, democracy, because you mentioned democracy at the beginning, Nicola. So it
yeah,
could really be transposed. So yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I
sweet.
agree.
Thank you, Thomas. And thank you very much.
Well, anyway, Joey, what we could do is that if people have questions, they can always contact me. I can refer it to Nicola, and we can give answers and feedback to everyone. So the question are answered for everyone, and so everyone has the same chance.
Yeah, of
Basically.
course. If Nicola gives me his contact information, I can provide it, or I can act as a middleman and send him questions
Okay.
that I've
Yeah,
gathered throughout the week. Sounds good.
yeah. I don't mind sharing my contact for sure. So if that's the best way to go about it, then I'll share my contact
I
for
had
sure.
one last question.
Yeah,
I know you've worked hard to prepare slides.
yeah,
Whenever, we're able to go back on campus and there isn't a snowstorm, would you mind providing them to the club so that we can share uh, the information with the rest of the group?
yeah. Of course, of
Thank you
course.
so much.
And Joey, maybe so one point of because Nicola mentioned that there is a summit on this topic in June, and I don't remember if we put it on the page of the contest, but we will ask the best project to present their work at the conference. We don't know exactly the format of the presentation because it will depend on how many people are coming.
Mhm.
But like the goal is also to get like some really nice projects, and we'll invite people to present it in public. And it won't be to game designers. It will be to people working in the field, like researchers from different disciplines in the field, but not game designers. But they will be very, very interested to hear what you have to say from a game design perspective. So it's also something we'll do. And of course, there is a reward that I think you put on the page,
Yeah.
which is provided by the center. Yeah. Okay.
Sweet.
Okay. Okay, good. Perfect. Thank you, Ethan. So it was mentioned. Perfect. Okay. And it's coming after the end of the game jam. Now for the criteria that will apply, we'll have several judges. Nicola will be part of the judges. I will be part of it. We'll ask other people to join, maybe like probably 3 or 4 people maximum. And each project will be evaluated on a scale of 100 points. And the first criteria will be theme implementation. So we'll just check if the theme of misinformation, disinformation is effectively integrated into the game. So you will have to show us this and show like how strong is integration into your game. It will be on 30 points, and I will give you all the criteria, Joy, so you can put it on the page. Huh?
Sounds good.
We will evaluate gameplay, 30 points. And so we'll check the experience you are providing, like how creative, how unique it is, the game design, the gameplay mechanics you are using, how smart it is, how coherent it is with the topic you are tackling. Also, is a game intuitive and easy to understand? It will be a criteria in the gameplay category. And so the gameplay will be 30 points. So right now we have topic integration 30 points, gameplay 30 points. We will evaluate the overall quality of the prototype. We don't need to see something perfect finished. Of course, it's a game jam, so it will be a prototype. But we'll check like how polished it is. So maybe think of it like you want to do, it's a prototype, so you don't have to do like a complete game, finished game. You have to show the potential of what you want to do. So, you know, like, I'm sure you know that in your field, they talk about a slice of a game. And once you have a slice and it's working, you work on all the rest of the game. So show us a nice, very nice polished slice. And then we will see, like, eventually it will be interesting to see how to expand on the project. So it will be on 20 points, this. And finally, we'll give 10 points for the oral presentation. Is it clear? Is it, do we understand everything? And do you convey the concept of the game is in a clear way? Like, do you explain us about the development process, the unique features of your game? And it will be 10 points. So each judge will score the project on 100. We'll do an average, and then we'll have our best projects. Okay? 90? Are you kidding me? 30, 30. You are right. It's on 90. You're right. But it's okay. Thank you, Ethan, to put me on the spotlight like this. It's 90 points. So it's okay because it will be an average of the score of the judges. Are there any questions about the criteria or any question about the topic or what you can do, what you cannot do? You can do board games. I think you can do virtual games. There is no limit. Any engine, any type of game. It doesn't have to be photorealistic or anything like this. As you know, as me, that some games can be very simple with the visual aspect, but very powerful. So that's what we are looking for, like something meaningful and helpful for people. Okay. If there is no question, any comment at this point, so you can refer your question to Joy. She will transfer it to us, and we'll answer. And eventually, maybe we'll add the answer on the page if we have things like this. And I will send you the criteria, Joy, and the PowerPoint. I will send you the video. You can upload it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Nicola, for coming up here and for switching to online last minute. We really appreciate it.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm really looking forward to taking part in this and to getting to know all you better a bit as we go on towards the summit. And hopefully we can meet in person, including in this room that you guys had reserved on the second floor of CRX. I've never been there. I've heard great things about it. So looking forward to meeting you guys all in person soon.
We could do the jury in this room, Nicola. We could
Okay.
actually do evaluation of the project there, because yeah, we will invite people to come in
Yep.
person. If they cannot, we'll offer the online online option, but I mean in person would be nice too. So yeah. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much. So Joya will send you everything very soon.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thanks, Joey. Merci,
Have a
Thomas.
good night. Have a good evening. Bye bye.
Salut.
Have a good
Bye,
one.
everyone.
Take care.